a clause that allows it to play. So I think we need to be careful in extending that you can register. If you obtain a judgment, you can register it in 2 years or 3 years. No, there has to be a time limit, and it has to do with due diligence. We created the Banking Act, and now you see a laissez-faire situation where there is intervention, like the CBN is running a parallel economy. What the chairman of judiciary raised is very important. Even when it has been passed around and we've not read it, members should be encouraged to interrogate it so that we have knowledge-based input into our statutes and legislation. So I think, whereas the intendment is okay for the entity to operate better, and the public hearing, some of these issues for amendment that have been raised, they ought to be interrogated to ensure the quality of delivery. And I do not think a situation where AMCON will have any extension cannot be up to 10 years anymore. It has to be, they must have to account for what they are supposed to deliver within the last 10 years. And what was the justification for the initial 10 years? What is the justification for this extension that has no time limit? So I thank you so much, and I think you should go for second reading so that Nigerians and the public will have the opportunity of interrogating the clauses. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Honorable Toby. You've raised some very, very germane points. But what is curious to me, what I would like to interrogate is why, because what you're talking about in law is a sunset clause when you have legislation that sets a time frame. But the question for me is, why was AMCON even given 10 years in the first place? Because for me, I don't think there should have been such a limitation, because what is the work of what is the functions of AMCON? Is it that after 10 years what AMCON was supposed to do no longer exists in Nigeria? Is it that the cure, everything has been cured in perpetually? I don't think so. Those things will continue. People will continue to owe banks. People will continue to default. So I don't know that. And in the area of registration, I don't understand how you can say, if I get a court judgment, my court judgment becomes a nullity because either by indolence or whatever reason, then there can be a myriad of reasons, I am unable to register in 6 months. How can that make my court judgment null? What if, especially in the climate we operate, what if where you go, there are bottlenecks, there's red tape, there's bureaucracy, or there's intentional delay even at the registry to stop you from registering, knowing that after 6 months your judgment becomes a nullity. So there are many sides to this thing, and we must look for. And I totally agree with you. You raised some very interesting points. So I think it should be, all those things should be interrogated at the committee level. So we'll just put the question. Those in support, please say aye. Those against, please say nay. The ayes have it. The eighth order of the day is a motion on need to investigate the acceptance fees charged by... Okay, second reading, sorry, please read the long title.
Honorable Speaker, honorable members, a bill for an act to amend the Asset Management Corporation of Nigeria Act 2019 to extend the tenure of the banking sector resolution cost funds and for related matters. Second reading.
Bill referred to Committee on Banking and Currency. Eighth order of the day is motion on need to investigate the acceptance fees charged by tertiary institutions in Nigeria. Standing in the name of Honorable Julius Iyovere. Honorable Iyovere is invited to move the motion.
Yeah? No. Mr. Speaker, Professor Julius Iyovere
representing the good people of Owan Federal Constituency, Edo State. I rise to move a motion on the need to investigate the acceptance fee charged by tertiary institutions in Nigeria. The House notes that the arbitrary high acceptance fees charged by some public universities on new students across the country has become a matter of great concern to many families. Also knows that amid the rising frustrations over the exorbitant fees, indigent families of new students that are forced to pay the acceptance fees are bemoaning the unusual astronomical increases against the backdrop of the fact that federal universities are supposedly tuition-free. Aware that the acceptance fees are discriminatory as they vary from one university to the other, which clearly shows that they have become mere internal revenue-generating mechanisms, thus constituting an impediment to the smooth process of entry into universities. Also aware that while some of the institutions are charging minimal fees, others are charging astronomically, whereas others do not charge anything, while most institutions do not charge acceptance fee against tuition fees, thus raising the question as to whether the institutions were not established under the same laws. Further aware that if the situation is unchecked, acceptance fees may surreptitiously become the school fee, thus affecting the number of students that may gain entry into higher institutions in Nigeria. Worried that the dire consequences of exorbitant acceptance fees in our public universities have led to many indigent students losing their admission as a result of their inability to afford the initial acceptance fees. Resolves to urge the federal government to increase the funding of public universities to moderate the excessive drive for internally generated revenue at the expense of popular access to public education in Nigeria, and two, mandate the Committee on Tertiary Institutions and Services to investigate the high acceptance fees charged by tertiary institutions in Nigeria and report back within 4 weeks for further legislative action. Mr. Speaker, I thank you for this opportunity. I so move.
Any seconder, please. Honorable, put on your mic. Okay. Honorable Jaga. Okay, I thought it was Honorable Jaga. Well, it's okay.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'm Honorable Zanna Usman, representing the people of Kaga, Gudioma, Guberi Federal Constituency. I'm from Borno State. I rise to second the motion heavily moved by my chairman, Professor Julius Ahemberi, on the need to investigate acceptance fees charged by tertiary institutions. I so second, Mr. Speaker. Thank you, sir.
Sorry, Honorable Ogbaga. Those in favor, please say aye. Those against, please say nay. Ayes have it. Yeah, there was no need for that, any debate on that. Straightforward. I can't hear you. It's an investigative motion. Okay, so yes. So we were right to put the question. The ninth order of the day is a motion on need to investigate the delay in conclusion of the review and renewal agreements for concession of seaports Standing in the name of Honorable Shehu Koko, Honorable Koko is invited to move the motion.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues. My name is Honorable Shehu Koko. I am from Kebbi State. I represent the good people of Mayama, Koko Bese, Federal Constituency, Mr. Speaker. I rise to raise a motion on the need to investigate the delay in conclusion of the review and renewal of agreement for concession of seaport in Nigeria. The House notes that the Bureau of Public Enterprises and Nigerian Port Authority, on behalf of the federal government of Nigeria, anchored the concession of seaport terminal between 2005 and 2006 for a period of 10 years, 15 years, and 25 years across MPA port complexes of Apapa, Tinkan Island, Port Harcourt, One, Calabar, Koko, and Ori, respectively. The House do aware that some of the concession terminals with initial tenure of 10 and 15 years have expired, while some would expire in May 2021, and needed renewal to avoid losses of hundreds of millions of dollars revenues accrued to the federal government of Nigeria, and direct foreign investment by investors to further upgrade and rehabilitation of the port to achieve modernization of the governments. They are also aware that the review of the renewal process had commenced in 2016 with Nigerian Port Authority, the Federal Ministry of Justice, the Federal Ministry of Transport, the Infrastructure Concession Regulatory Commission, the Bureau of Public Enterprises, the terminal, and private terminal operators. The House do concern that the concession agreements that have expired are deemed to have automatically renewed without benefit of full negotiation, provided that concessionaries serve the lessor requisite notice of intent to review in line with the provision of agreements. The House do resolve to mandate the Committee on Ports, Harbour, and Privatization and Commercialization to interface with parties to concession agreements with a view to determine reasons for the delay in conclusion of the review and renewal of agreement for concession of seaport, and report back to the House within 4 weeks for further legislative action. I so move, Mr. Speaker, sir. This issue.
Honorable Dati, please confer with Honorable before we take a decision. Amendment? No, well, let's get a seconder first. Honorable Naraba.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, my highly respected colleagues. Abubakar Hassan Al-Arabai is my name. I represent Awedo Makana Federal Constituency. I'm from Nasarawa State. I rise to second the motion ably moved by my colleague, Honorable Shehu Koko, on the need to investigate the delay in the conclusion of review of renewal and agreements for concession of seaports. I so second. Thank you.
So, Are we sorted? Those in amendment?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My amendment is to the effect that we mandate the committees on treaties and agreements, ports and harbor, and privatization and commercialization, because he's talking about agreement. His motion is dwell on issue of agreements. So I'm saying that we should include treaties and agreement committee to work with ports. And in fact, treaties and agreement committee actually has the job to do. It's in respect of this when it has to do with agreement on the concession. But we're including port and harbor because they are the custodian of the main issue, then privatization and commercialization. Just those three of them.
But that is 3 committees, and I think that is, you know what happens when we have, that's potentially 100 people.
They will remove privatization and commercialization.
Still leaves us with about 60 people.
So what I'm saying, you have to look at who is responsible. Look at the motion. It's on issue of bordering.
Honorable Dati, I think you might want to listen to Honorable Elumelu's argument.
Is on issue bordering
Honorable Dati.
Agreement on the concession. So, and we have a committee on treaties and agreements. The committee need to look at the agreement that was drawn, whether they meet the requirement that has led to this.
So what Honorable, his amendment is that it should go to the committees on treaties and agreements, on privatization, and on ports and harbor. That is his amendment. That's why I said you should listen to his amendment. What's your? I personally feel that when you have too many hands, they say spoil the broth. When you have potentially three committees, that's already about 150 people sitting on. We're not going to make much progress. So we need to. You are right. It touches on all of those. You are absolutely correct. But in terms of managing the investigation, that. Okay. Yes.
I didn't know what it's against our rules to argue on an amendment. I think it's either taken or not taken. But I don't think that at this point I eligibly defer that committee on treaties should not be involved in this particular one. They have their specific mandate in terms of reviewing all our treaties, laying their reports. If you go through the House rules, it's very clear regarding their mandate. And I think the relevant committees that have been quoted by COCO are the ones to deal with this matter. Thank you.
Wait, yes, are you saying that at this stage he cannot?
Yes, sir. Committees on treaties.
Okay, committee on treaty.
Yes, sir.
This is not their. It's not their jurisdiction.
No, it's not an agreement. This is not an agreement. No. Treaties agreement.
I think maybe the intention behind treaties and agreement was international. Yes. Not domestic. Otherwise, I tend to agree with that, and I was going to say so when you mentioned it earlier, because otherwise, treaties and agreements will cover every possible agreement you can imagine, and there are millions of those. So I think it's supposed to be limited to international, and that's why you have treaties coming before agreements. So it has to be in line in terms of interpretation of laws. You have to be. Whatever comes subsequently, you have to look at what came first. And treaties are international. So when you say treaties, agreements, and protocols, then it's mostly international.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Let me read the functions or the guideline for treaties, and which I'm sure you are holding there. is on page 238. Said there shall be a committee to be known as Committee on Treaties, Protocols, and Agreements, consisting of not more than 40 members. Let me go further. The committee's jurisdiction shall cover liaising with all relevant ministries, departments. They did say foreign departments and agencies of government before treaties are entered into by the federal government pursuant to Section 12 of the Constitution.
So read Section 12 of the Constitution.
Please give me the. Now, the concession, we need to also verify.
You see, Section 12 of the Constitution talks about treaties.
Who are the people that they concessioned the ports?
You see that Section 12 limits it.
Deputy Speaker, don't intimidate me. I will read it.
Oh, you have it.
Yeah. No treaty between the Federation and any other country shall have the force of the law to the extent to which any such treaty has been enacted to the law. Then, 2, National Assembly may make laws for the Federation or any part thereof with respect to matters not included in the exclusive list for the purpose of implementing a treaty. A bill for an act of the National Assembly passed pursuant to the provision of the subsection 2 of this section shall not be presented to the President for assent and shall not be enacted unless it is ratified. Mr. Speaker, if you look at this provision and the issue of concession, they have not told us whether they are Nigerians. They have not, I'm serious, they have not told us whether those who benefited are Nigerians. And that is why I strongly feel that treaties and agreement committee should be part of it, and it will not cost us anything for them to go through it. Okay,
so do you agree that the agreements referred to in the House rules and the rules talks, do you agree that it limits agreements to international agreements? Do you agree?
It's just like the Chinese treaty that we entered.
Yeah. Yes.
Where people thought that those who were doing it were local interest. But eventually when we found out that the loans were meant to be taken from abroad. So if this
yes, that's international.
Mr. Speaker, can you please tell me who are the concessionaires? If you know.
No. I want to take it state by state. Wait. I want to take it state by state. Do you agree that the agreements referred to in our rules is limited to international agreements? Do you agree?
We are saying almost the same thing.
Okay, so you agree.
Because the people who benefited, go and check, Mr. Speaker, and quote me right, they are not Nigerians. I have said my own as a minority. You can have your way as majority, but that is the truth. In the fact, and I stand by my fact. Who is the chair? You? I'm addressing the speaker. He has not said otherwise.
Now, if you see, honorable, if the concessions were given to, it's private concession, right? For you to have a private concession in Nigeria, that company, whether it's owned by a foreigner or not, is a Nigerian company, must be registered in Nigeria, correct? Must be registered in Nigeria. So that agreement between the federal government and that company that is registered in Nigeria is a domestic agreement. It's not international. International that is referred to is country to country or some entity sitting in another country entering into an agreement with Nigeria. So no, I don't want to put the question. He has to. Is whatever has to be seconded, unless he wants to withdraw it. There's a process. So, Honorable, do you concede to superior argument? Okay. No, I think the committee on ports and harbor has sufficient capacity to determine whether it is an international agreement. At which point we may be able to bring in they have sufficient capacity to do that. Who heads the committee on treaties and protocol? What party is? I'm just trying to understand the angle that all this is coming from. Honorable Sala, you want to second the amendment? Okay, no, before ordinarily they should just second it straight, but if it's an explanation, I'm interested in this issue.
Mr. Speaker, when we talk about treaty and agreement on the floor of the Parliament, taking a directive from the position of Section 12 of the Constitution, is talking about treaties and agreements that needs to be domesticated by the Parliament. This is a trade agreement. This is a bilateral, within domestic trade agreement within agencies. At best, maybe Ministry of Trade and Industry or Justice Department that will prepare the document to protect the interest of the government, but not something that needs to be domesticated. Trade agreement, these are things that happen every time.
No, you are correct. I mean, you see.
So I think bringing this is a contract. It's a contract agreement. At best, the Ministry of Justice will fine-tune it, protect the interests of the country.
No, you are right, Honorable
But when we bring the Committee on Trade and Agreement, it's not something that should be brought to the House for domestication.
In fact, Section 12,
Yes.
Section 12 uses the word ratification. It actually uses that word in Section 12 of the Constitution, ratification. So, you want to second the amendment? Yes. Go ahead.
My name is Honorable Samson Oku, member representing Oju of the Federal Constituency from Benue. I rise to second the motion ably moved by minority leader of this House. Mr. Speaker, I so second.
Those against the amendment, please say aye. I'm just trying to get straight to the point. Those against the amendment, please say aye. Those in favor of the amendment. Amendment is not carried. Those in favor of the motion as not amended, please say aye. Those against, please say nay. Ayes have it. The ninth order of the day is a motion on curbing sea piracy, kidnappings and killings on Bornu and Bakana waterways, standing in the name of Honorable Nagogo. Honorable Nagogo is invited to move the motion. Is Honorable Nagogo here? Honorable Fulata, please step down the motion. Honorable Duga, the 10th order of the day, please. 11th order of the day is the motion on need to rehabilitate the Ise Kwana Isa Road in Isa Sabon Bini, Federal Constituency of Sokoto State. Standing name of Honorable Mohammed Saidu Baragaja. Honorable Baragaja is invited to move the motion.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Okay, that's a good idea.
My respected honorable colleague, my name is Mohammed Bargaja, member representing East Sabon Federal Constituency. I'm from Sokoto State. I raised to move the motion for the need to rehabilitate the Pesa Road from Isa to Corner Isa in East Sabon Federal Constituency of Sokoto State. Note that the road from Isa to Corner Isa is connecting Sokoto and Zamfara State. It's constructed in the early 80s during Shagara administration. It has been useful for transportation of people, goods, and facilitate commercial agricultural activities in Sokoto and Zamfara State. What is that the 8 kilometers road, 6 fronts of the road, has not witnessed any form of rehabilitation since its construction. Despite its significance in the boosting economic activities between the two states. Also, Also, what is that? The abandonment of the road adversely affecting the means of livelihood of the inhabitants of the communities, thus making criminal to make undue advantage of each state and perpetrate their heinous activities. Resolve. Urge the Federal Road Maintenance Agency to rehabilitate the liquidated road portion of the road from Isa to Corner Isa to enhance the livelihood of the inhabitants of the communities. 2, mandate the Committee of Federal Road Maintenance Agency to ensure implementation. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Seconder, please. Honorable Mukhtar Lada.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I remain Honorable Mukhtar Laden, member representing Makarfikudam Federal Constituency. I'm from Kaduna State. I rise to second the motion ably moved by Honorable Mohammed Saidu Baragaja. I so second.
Okay, so just for the question, this is an infrastructure motion. Those in favor, please say aye. Those against, please say nay. Ayes have it. So all of the day is a motion on the need to prevail on just electricity distribution company to restore power supply in the communities of Darazo, Ganjua Federal Constituency, standing in the name of Honorable Mansour Manu Soro. Honorable Soro is invited to move the motion.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker, distinguished honorable colleagues. My name is Representative Manu Soro Mansour. I represent the good people of Darazo Ganjua Federal Constituency. Mr. Speaker, I am from Bauchi State. I rise this afternoon to move a motion on the need to prevail on the just Electricity Distribution Company, JEDCO, to restore power supply in the affected communities of Daras Uganjwa, Federal Constituency of Bauchi State. The House notes that the provision of electricity is critical to the socio-economic development of any given society. Aware that private companies are empowered by the Electricity Power Sector Reform Act 2005 to participate in the generation and transmission of electricity. And in this case, the JOS Electricity Distribution Company is responsible for the distribution of electricity in Daras Uganjwa Federal Constituency of Bauchi State. Observes that communities of Yule, Don, Vadaromo, Dargomi, Dabe, Dire, Daben Kaswa, Jaringo Company Tampulani, Zaganga, Gaidra Company Kutare, Gamadadi, Gidangona, Welo, Kare Kare, Marga, Agago, Kontia, Gavarin, Kiri, Kunchi, Tashagadi, Yumbunga, Dagakofes and them, Baba Esadi, Wahu Magumeri, Wahu Magume, Garele Sa, Sauki, Bogawa, and Zaitudum Wada, and Lamba in Pafa, located on the Bauchi-Maiduguri Highway, have been living in darkness for the past 10 years. Commends the government of Bauchi State under the leadership of Senator Bala Abdul Qadir Mohammed, Gauram Bauchi, for its commitment through the State Ministry of Power to address challenges of this nature across the state. Worried that the residents of the affected communities are being denied the benefits associated with the provision of electricity due to the failure of the JOS Electricity Distribution Company to supply. The House resolves as follows: mandate the Committee on Power to interface with the Managing Director, JOS Electricity Distribution Company, to explain reasons behind its failure to supply these affected communities with power. 2, the House mandate the Committee on Legislative Compliance to ensure compliance. I so moved, Mr. Speaker.
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Umar Abdul Sarki is my name. I speak for the people of Katagon Federal Constituency. I am from Bauchi State. I rise to second the motion heavily moved by Honorable Mansur Manisoru. I so second.
Those in favor, please say aye. Those against, say nay. Ayes have it. Yes. Southeast. Oh, okay. Henry, Honorable colleagues, the delegation to Katsina on the fire incident, which should have will be led by the Deputy Speaker of the House and the members of the delegation, Honorable Nasiru Sangodara, Honorable Babangida Ibrahim, Honorable Sarah Soli, Honorable Isansi, all four from Katsina, and Honorable Musa Sekeada, Honorable Olanri Waju from Ekiti, Honorable Kumo, Honorable Gariwe, and Professor Inyeba. So I think it's a 10-man delegation, 9 or 10-man delegation, led by the Deputy Speaker. You can see the Deputy Speaker for details. Also, to replace Honorable Kabiru on the local content, as deputy will be Honorable Mukhtar Alada. So we move on. 12th order of the day is or is it 13th order of the day is a motion on need to control the import and export of agricultural commodities in Nigeria. Standing in the name of Honorable Ibrahim Kunle Olanrewaju, Honorable Olanrewaju is, I believe he has gone to Lagos for PIB. Yes.
The motion be stepped down by the leave of the House. I so move.
Motion step down. 14th order of the day is a motion on urgent need to investigate the corporate attitude of the ExxonMobil against indigenous Nigerian service providers. Standing in the name of Honorable Henry Nwawuba. Honorable Nwawuba is invited to move the motion.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. I remain Henry Nwawuba, and I speak for the enterprising people of the Federal Constituency of Imo State. I rise to move a motion on urgent need to investigate the corporate attitude of ExxonMobil against indigenous service providers. The House notes that ExxonMobil and its affiliates are involved in the exploration and production of crude oil and natural gas and operate joint venture concessions and deep water production with significant investments in Nigeria, and has been a committed partner with the federal government in her drive for socio-economic growth of the nation. The House also notes that ExxonMobil has equally been collaborating with various tiers of government by providing employment opportunities for both skilled and unskilled labor in line with the Nigeria Content Development Act, and recently they were reported to have commenced a contract process which is split to favor foreign companies to the exclusion of indigenous service providers. The House is also aware of reports of unfair treatment of Nigerians who render various services to the company, especially the termination of the catering contract of Royalty Hotels and Eden Hotels, catering companies owned by Nigerians, in August 2019 without clear reasons, and re-awarding same to the West African Caterers, a foreign company, and employing 2 expatriates to service catering services against the NCD Act. Also aware that there is unequal, prejudiced, and biased procurement requirements, conditions, processes for catering service provisions targeted at automatically disqualifying proficient Nigerian companies from participating in the new catering technical and commercial bid. Disturbed that ExxonMobil, known for appreciable commitment to the rule of law, respect for individuals, and maintaining a harmonious relationship with indigenous host communities, will begin to, without any sense of caution, manifest such indistinct tendencies of economic sabotage, particularly at the highest level of her management, by ironically disregarding Nigerian government's effort to ensure the development of local food and non-food products of high quality and standards for local consumption. The House is disturbed that ExxonMobil could exhume such crass abuse and insult to Nigerian government's restrictions on foreign food items by deliberately listing ISO 2200 certification, a foreign safety certification, as a mandatory requirement in their technical bid document for catering service production, not minding the logistic difficulties facing local catering companies as a result of COVID-19 restrictions on international movements. Worried at the glaring deliberate abuse of the Nigerian Content Development Act by ExxonMobil and the contract termination of the Nigerian oil companies have caused untold hardship to those indigenous companies and the host communities. Also worried that if urgent action is not taken to call ExxonMobil to order, the situation may degenerate to both local and civil actions capable of undermining the relative peace currently subsisting between the parties. The House resolves to 1, urge ExxonMobil to immediately stop further procurement activities in their catering contracts and reinstate the contractors who were disengaged without reasons from 2019 till date, and 2, mandate the Committee on Nigerian Content Development and Monitoring to investigate the matter by inviting ExxonMobil management, NAPIMS, and Nigerian Content Monitoring Board to appear before it and report back within 4 weeks for further legislative action. Mr. Speaker, my dear colleagues, I so submit. I so move. Thank you.
Any seconder? Honorable Toby. No, you're not seconded. Okay. Honorable Sarah.
Mr. Speaker, my name is Sada Soli. I'm representing Jibia Kaita Federal Constituency. Mr. Speaker, I rise to second the motion ably moved by Honorable Henry. I so move. I so second.
Honorable Toby, you want to contribute to the debate, right? Okay, so Honorable, please lead the debate, Honorable Henry Mahuba.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. Well, as you can see from the body of the motion, sir, it's an investigative motion. Basically, what is brought to the fore is that there has been harmony existing in the catering contracts between ExxonMobil and some of their service providers. And for years, they've executed or run the contracts harmoniously. There has not been even one query.
Can you hold on 1 second? Sorry, yes, I wanted to listen to that. Go ahead.
Remote causes of termination of a contract servicing, catering servicing contract to Nigerians without any evidence of non-performance. They have, for over a period of time, successfully executed every part of the agreement. They have not been queried. There is no evidence of, sharp practice or whatever. And for no reason, these contracts have been terminated, and then in favor of foreign companies for such basic things as provision of catering services. We want to call the relevant parties to Parliament to come and state their case before Parliament and give reasons behind some certifications that have been introduced now, which we feel the local partners or local companies will not be able to meet up with. I don't want to preempt what the investigation will look like, but we want to see the Committee on Local Content invite NAPIMS, Local Content Board, some of the other stakeholders, including Mobile, to state their case before Parliament and see if there's anything that can be done for the survival of these local players. In the meantime, what the motion is seeking to achieve is that the procurement process that has started parallel to the contract that were terminated should be halted until we finish this investigation and we can take an informed decision. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker and my colleagues.
Okay, before Honorable, I don't want to understand so the allegation is that services that were hitherto being carried out by indigenous companies are terminated at will without any just cause and then re-awarded to foreign companies. That's the allegation, in contradiction with local content laws. And that they have also brought in different types of certification that did not exist before, which indigenous companies probably are not able to meet up with. So there's a grand design. That's what you're saying. Okay, and you're asking that the procurement exercise that they have started be put on hold. Okay, I just wanted to understand the issues. Honorable Toby.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Honorable colleagues. My name is Toby Okechukwu. I represent an area of Wajir Federal Constituency from Enugu State. Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues, the motion on the urgent need to investigate the corporate attitude of ExxonMobil against indigenous services providers. Well, for me, essentially, the motion touches essentially on the breaches or lack of it of the Procurement Act. 2, breaches or lack of it of the Local Content Act. And probably an extension of it is our immigration regulations. And Nigeria is a nation of laws. And we should be seen, whether you're a legal person or you're an individual, or you ought to observe the law. So I would rather say we are not interested in the attitude of corporate attitude of ExxonMobil, which borders on probably organizational behavior. We are interested in their breaches of acts of parliament that have been enacted here. So, essentially, where they breach any law, they should be held accountable. And I think this body of the narrative here is very clear regarding the instances of such breaches. And I think it should be subject to proper investigation. Because we cannot be tolerating a situation where breaches of law, whether it's Procurement Act or immigration regulations, and the Local Content Act will presuppose sabotage of the economy, which is essentially the summary of what's been said here. So in their own jurisdictions, we want to observe the laws. When we are telling Nigerians who are resident and indigenous to observe the law, we cannot be expecting that a corporate person, who is a legal citizen of Nigeria should offend in our laws. So I will say that since it's subject to investigation, like Honorable Henry rightly said, we should not be taking any action that could look untoward by saying, if they have engaged somebody, they should. And I think it should be an action that the investigating committee should now take, based on, there could be an interim action, it could be but for Parliament to resolve that they should stop and we still investigate it. It will a bit appear premature. So I would like to amend, sir, in this way, that the Parliament, the House of Representatives mandates its committees on procurement and local content to investigate the compliance of ExxonMobil regarding the provisions of the Procurement Act and Local Content Act.
Okay.
So, amen.
Thank you. Absolutely on point, but I think we are even beyond the laws, and that's very important. You even talked about immigration law. I think we're even primarily concerned with, contrary to what you said, with the welfare of the citizens of this country. So if the corporate attitude is such that it is inimical to the welfare of the citizens of our country who are suffering this, then we are obligated to look into it. Not even just the breach of laws. The breach of laws is also even just compounds the problem. So I don't know what you. And then on the issue of procurement, I honestly think, just like the courts, you don't want to act. The Parliament doesn't want to act, embark on an act in futility, and be faced with a fait accompli at the end of the day, when they try and say, well, we've already done this, and you cannot reverse that. So I think it's in order to ask them to hold. We're not passing judgment. It's still an allegation. But I think whilst we investigate, they should hold on to. Well, how did you couch your prayer? What was the prayer again?
Then call for an investigation in the second instance.
So investigate. So the prayer is
that while whatever they've started now should be paused while the investigation is carried out, and then at the end of the investigation, Parliament will be armed with information, necessary information.
I think you should, based on what Honorable Toby has said, I think you should couch that investigation such and make it very comprehensive, that investigations to the extent that they breach the welfare of Nigerian citizens and they contradict our laws, whether immigration, privatization, or procurement, or
I think Honorable Sada Soli actually has he's looked at it now. Maybe you can just move your amendment for the 2 weeks.
Because you'll be surprised what you may stumble on when you are navigating and you are investigating. You don't find that, like he has rightly said, like Honorable Toby has said, there might even be a breach of the immigration laws. Because if you are now re-awarding to foreign entities, you may not have even complied with the immigration laws, whether they're even entitled to do business in Nigeria or not. So I think you should make it comprehensive is the prayer, is what I'm saying. Okay, what does it say? No, there are two. There should be two. There's the procurement one.
It's the body of the motion. It's not the look at it now. Only one
it has
prayer.
to be. It has to be a prayer. It has to be a prayer.
Mr. Speaker, check. He said.
I agree with you, but there has to be. So there has to be an amendment to hold on to the investigation, to the procurement.
There's not even number two.
Mr. Speaker, I think maybe Henry will provide a clarification. The House resolves, 1, urge ExxonMobil to immediately stop further procurement activities.
You have the fake one. It's the fake one.
They changed that other paper.
Okay, so we have two prayers. What's the amendment?
Your own is Chinese.
Hold on, please. I don't know why your mic is not. Go ahead. Your mic is not coming on.
Okay, come and use this. I just want to draw the attention of the House. If you look at prayer boards, do we have such committee in our rules?
Sorry?
Do we have such committee as Nigerian Content Development and Monitoring Committee? What we have is local
No, what we have is local content.
So I think we don't put what doesn't exist by our rules.
Yes. Please help me amend that. It's correct.
So mandate the Committee on Local Content to investigate the matter by inviting ExxonMobil Management, NAPIMS, NCMD to appear before it and report back within 4 weeks for further legislative actions. I so move. My name is Honorable Babangida Ibrahim, representing Malafashi Kaho Federal Constance. I so move.
So, you've got to be careful how you craft these things. So you've only mandated 2 people to come before you. It can be argued that you only have mandated NAPIMS, and what if you need other people? You can say we mandate NAPIMS, whoever, and any other relevant. Yes, and any other to appear before it. Any second rep. You want to second? Okay, second rep. Go ahead. Okay, after his
Mr. Speaker, my name is Mukhtar Ahmed, politically known as Morovia. I rise to second the amendment as moved by Honorable Babangida with the small addition from the Right Honorable Speaker. I so second.
Those in support, please say aye. Those against, please say nay. Ayes have it. You wanted to contribute? Although we should have done that first, actually. Sorry about that.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Speaker. My name is Kolawole Lawal. I represent Iwa South Federal Constituency. I'm from Ogun State, Mr. Speaker. My grace was God and Nelson Mubu retiree. I want to speak here, not as a biased person, but to guide the House as to what I know ExxonMobil for. ExxonMobil is one of the few IOCs that pioneered the issue of local content in Nigeria. ExxonMobil is known for consistent and very proactive ethical standards in their procurement activities. So I'll be surprised if we have this kind of issue on the floor, although I'm not against investigating ExxonMobil. We should be guided that a company that we have said in this motion, I can see that it is agreed that it has had over the years a harmonious relationship with host communities. It has been employing our youth, and ExxonMobil has been a company that has done so much for Nigeria, especially partnering with NNPC. So if they had issues, I'm sure we need to also invite the companies involved, the contractors involved, because the prayer here is not mentioning them as those that we invited for investigation. We need to do that so that we know that yes, ExxonMobil has seriously or done anything that is inimical to the system. Thank you, sir.
Yeah, that's the exact amendment I tried to guide from the, which has been carried, that to invite all relevant persons. Yeah, you are correct. So those in favor of the motion, please say aye. Those against, please say nay. Ayes have it. Number 1 is deleted. No. Wait, what's number 1? Procurement? No, it wasn't deleted. No. No, why? So, once you are investigating, they conclude what do you do then?
my name is Ahmed. I represent accepted motion to plant the First, I want to thank my brother to take a tutorial from what and how you have led opposition. That in putting out opposition, we should do things rightly. And doing things rightly, once you're investigating, if you don't ask them to hold status quo, they can conclude, issue our letters, and at the end of the day, because the problem, and to render the report of the committee they're going to get invalid, or to have much other consequences. The normal procedure, if you are investigating, even in court, is to ask the status quo to remain ante. Then you proceed. But when you don't ask them to stop, and then they conclude, if you go into the report, what are we going to do with it? The right answer is to ask them to hold whatever they are doing. No. I'm just guiding you. Thank you.
No, he didn't say anything about opposition. So, wait. Let's. Okay. You are correct. You are correct. You are correct. So the point is this. We have given the committee 4 weeks. That's a month to investigate. A lot can happen in 4 weeks. Procurement can be made. Award letters and people issued with award letters, they can go and incur loans from banks based on the award letters, and then you now come out with your investigation and say it was illegal, but they've already, so you're hurting other people. So it's better for everything to remain as it is. We're just talking about weeks. What's your observation? The catering services were being done by Nigerians, by indigenous companies, whether offshore or onshore. The allegation is that ExxonMobil illegally, and that's why I call it an allegation, I'm very careful with my choice of words, that ExxonMobil illegally terminated the contracts of indigenous companies in contravention of the local content laws. So there were people who were doing it, whether onshore or offshore. I think the point to be made is that they should just start a while till the legislative arm of government finishes its investigation, not to confront us with a fait accompli at the end of the day and say, sorry, it came too late. So I don't think there's anything to lose. Yes, further amendment.
Some Nigerian jobs are on the line, and the urgency of this to resolve this quickly. I think 4 weeks is too much, so that we'll balance the impact on both sides. Can I move the amendment that instead of 4 weeks, let's give it 2 weeks? 4 weeks is too much. A lot of things can happen in 4 weeks.
So, Honorable,
I'm moving the motion that instead of 4 weeks, we make it 2 weeks, so that we can get to the bottom of this quickly and resolve this.
Honorable Wawa.
Right Honorable Speaker, my dear colleagues, I support the amendment. If the House is so minded, 2 weeks would actually make it fast for us to conclude. I support this amendment.
Okay. Those in support, please say aye. Those against, please say no. Ayes have it. Yes.
Yeah, on the amendment agreed to by Babangida's proposal, going by our new standing rules, the title Nigerian Content Development and Monitoring is the correct name of the standing committee.
Or by the new,
yes, sir.
The new rules.
Yeah, so we should revert to this is the correct. So
Nigerian content
contained in the other paper is the right one.
So Nigerian Content Development
yes, sir.
Committee, otherwise known as local content.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so those in support of the motion, please say aye. As amended, please say aye. Those against, please say nay. Ayes have it. The 15th order of the day is consideration of report of the Committee on Interior, Federal Character and Reformatory Institutions on call for intervention in the ongoing recruitment exercise into the Nigerian Security and Civil Defense Corps and the Nigerian Immigration Service. Honorable members will recall that the report was laid on Wednesday, 21st April 2021. Honorable Nasir Zangadara will move for its consideration.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'm Nasir Sani Zangondera, representing Zango Bore Federal Constituency. I'm from Katsina State. Mr. Speaker, I rise to move that the House do consider the report of the Committees on Interior, Federal Character and Reformatory Institutions on the call for intervention in the ongoing recruitment exercise in the Nigeria Security and Civil Defense Corps and the Nigeria Immigration Services. I so move.
Thank you, Honorable Gary. Can you please second?
My respected colleagues, my name is Honorable Gary Ibuma Enwo. I represent Afikpo North, Afikpo South Federal Constituency. I'm from Ebonyi State. Mr. Speaker, I rise to second the motion that we do consider the report. I so second.
Those in favor, please say aye. Those against, please say nay. Ayes have it. You're correct. Okay, before we go into the committee of the whole, can we rise for a minute's silence on the announcement by Honorable Thomas in honor of the late Olu of Warri. May the soul of the departed rest in peace. Honorable colleagues, it's a reminder that I'll be breaking fast with the members of the North Central, Southwest, and Northeast today. The information is on the, will be relayed across to you later. House Leader moved that the House resolve to the Committee of the Whole. Chairman, Business and Rules. Please move that we dissolve the committee of the whole.
Mike, sir. Okay. Thank you. Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues, I am Abubakar Samfulata. I represent Berniwa Krika Samaguri Federal Constituency. Mr. Speaker, I'm from Jigawa State. Mr. Speaker, I move that the House do resolve into the committee of the whole to consider reports. I so move.
Honorable Yami Ali. Actually, okay. Minority leader has left. Leader, can you? Where's the minority leader? Can you second?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I remain Honorable Ndodi Godwin Elmelu, and I represent Anyocho Shibili Federal Constituency. I'm from Delta State. I rise to second the motion that will resolve to Committee of the Whole. As so second.
Those in support, please say aye. Those against, please say nay. House hereby resolves the Committee of the Whole. North Central, Southwest, Northeast. See you at 7 o'clock.
Respected colleagues, the report to be considered is that of the Committee on Interior, Federal Character and Reformist Institutions on call for the intervention in the ongoing recruitment exercise into the Nigerian Security and Civil Defense Corps, the Nigerian Immigration Service. I now invite Honorable Nasu Zankwandarat to give the synopsis of the report. Yes?
Number last year, stating that the computer aptitude test or CBAT used by the Civil Defense, Fire Service, Immigration and Correctional Services Board favored only candidates that can operate computers in the ongoing recruitment exercise of both the Nigerian Civil Defense Corps as well as the Nigerian Immigration Services. The matter was subsequently referred to the Committees on Interior, Federal Character, and Reformatory Institutions for further legislative action. The leadership of the three committees met and set up a subcommittee drawn from members of each of the three committees. The subcommittee then held an interactive session attended by the Controller General of the Nigerian Immigration Services, the Controller General of the Nigerian Security and Civil Defense Corps, the Executive Secretary of the Civil Defense, Fire, Immigration and Correctional Services Board, as well as the Permanent Secretary, Ministry of Interior, so that we can, the board is actually primarily invested with the power of conducting the said recruitment, who made the bulk of the presentations at that meeting. Arising from the interactive sessions and the findings made from the presentations and submissions, we hereby put forward the following recommendations and approval by the House, for approval by the House. That the introduction of the computer-based aptitude test was to add value to the Civil Defense, Fire, Immigration, and Correctional Services Board recruitment processes, and also to ensure transparency and fairness. That the method, or CBAT, employed by the board is faster, seamless, and less cumbersome, and is also devoid of manipulation, almost to the tune of about 100%, and above all, in compliance with the ICT templates being used all over the world. And we felt Nigeria should not be left out of this, embracing this ICT facility. That the exercise should continue in earnest to ensure there is no delay in the assumption of duty of these officers who will form part of the solution to the internal security challenges of the country, and also reduce the overstretched labor markets. Mr. Chairman, this is basically what transpired, and these are the recommendations that we made as a joint committee.
Thank you very much. I think for better clarity, because this is a very sensitive matter, I would rather refer my colleagues to the findings, and it's very important that we note this. The first one is that this recruitment was advertised in the national dailies as specified here, because the allegation is that it is skewed, doesn't give the opportunity to all Nigerians to participate. The advertisement has covered that from the findings. Two is that the processes, if you go through, I will have which these are the areas we captured from the findings of the committee. There was over how many thousand people that were just looking for it. 1,477,000 applied for this job. And what you are supposed to, what the recruitment should have been done was to capture for just 5,000 persons. When you have an application of over 1 million, it means then there has been adequate spread and quite informative. Thank you very much. I think you should have dwelled on that much more. Thank you very much. Those in favor of recommendation 1? Recommendation 2? Yes, sir.
Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues, I am Abubakar Samfulata. I represent Berniwa Krika Samaguri Federal Constituency. Mr. Speaker, I'm from Jigawa State. Mr. Speaker, I move that the House do revert to plenary to report progress. I so move.
Seconder. Within.
I do second the motion as ably moved by Right Honorable Hassan Abubakar Platt.
What's the motion about?
The motion is to adopt the recommendation, or report back to the plenary. Thank you.
Thanks. Those in favor of the motion say aye. Against any, that's have it. Progress. Thank you. Respected colleagues, the House and the Committee of the Whole considered the report of the Committee on Interior, Federal Character and Reforming Institutions on call for investigation in the ongoing recruitment exercise into the Nigerian Security and Civil Defense Corps and Nigerian Immigration Service, and approved recommendations 1, 2, and 3 of the report. Please move for the adoption. Chairman rules.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I am Abubakar Hassan Fulata. I represent Berniwa Krikasama Guri Federal Constituency. Mr. Speaker, I'm from Jigawa State. Mr. Speaker, I move that the House do adopt the report of the Committee of the Whole. I so move.
Seconder. Leader.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Honorable colleagues, my name is Honorable Gideon Gwani. I come from Kaduna State. I represent Kaura Federal Constituency. Mr. Speaker, I rise to second the motion ably moved by the Chairman of Rules and Business.
Those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Against say nay. The ayes have it. Move for the adjournment of the House to tomorrow 11 a.m.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues. I am Abubakar Samfulata. I represent Berniwa Krikasama Guri Federal Constituency. Mr. Speaker, I'm from Jigawa State. Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues, I move that the House do adjourn to tomorrow, Thursday, 22nd of April, 2021. I so move, Mr. Speaker.
Once again, thank you, Mr. Speaker. Honorable colleagues, my name is Honorable Gideon Gwani. I come from Kaduna State. I represent Kaura Federal Constituency. Mr. Speaker, I rise to second the motion that the House do adjourn until tomorrow, 11 a.m.
Those in favor of the motion say aye. Against say nay. The ayes have it.